Inner Expeditions podcast. Hey to everyone out there at the moment, how are you guys going? Welcome back to the Inner Expeditions podcast. My name is Aaron Harvey and welcome to this edition of episode 24 of the show. How you guys doing out there? You okay? It's getting towards the pointy end of the year and I've got a bit going on, but before I take a little bit of a break for the end of the year, I'm hoping to get one more episode out. And this one is featuring Brooke Turner, who is a personal trainer and gym owner. She runs a variety of fitness courses and functional training and nutrition for specialising in women with pregnancy and postpartum, so after birth, fitness, well-being, nutrition, that sort of stuff for mums, new mums, and also pregnant women, which is really cool, I think. A lot of what Brooke does, she does online and written publications. She's featured in the Australian Fitness Network. She has featured for Polar Global, Mary Claire magazine, OK, New Weekly, as well as women's health and fitness magazines, to name just a few. Brooke also does a series of workshops about understanding nutrition. She does corporate workshops as well with companies, mining companies, all those sort of people up where she is up in Karratha. A lot of the other work that she does involves exercise during and after pregnancy, as I said before, and healthy mind, healthy habits workshops and courses, which you can either do through her gym if you're in her local area, or if you want to do these workshops online via her website, which we will get to. But look, I'm ready to go on this one. I hope you guys are too. So without too much more ado, let's have a listen. Okay, Brooke Turner, thank you so much for joining me on the show. It is great to have you finally. We've been to and froing for a little while, but it's good to finally get you on.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I've sort of been put onto you by your brother Joel. He sort of said I need to get in touch and speak about what you do and the great work that you're doing with balanced fitness and nutrition. And yeah, since I sort of was looking at your profile, I was like, yeah, we definitely have to get something going on here.
Absolutely, yes. So, yes, and I loved the episode listening to Joel, my brother. He's sort of the triple threat in the family who can do everything and does it with excellence. But yes, so I'm the founder of Balanced Fitness and Nutrition, and as the business name suggests, so I'm all about extremes are easy, strive for balance. So I started my business back in 2013 whilst I was still working full-time. I knew that from the get-go I was always going to be in health and fitness, and I'm sort of where I am today because of the experiences that I've gone through, and it's helped to mould me into the health and fitness professional that I am. But professionally, I'm an exercise scientist with a postgrad in human nutrition and personal trainer, specialising in educating and empowering women and fitness professionals working with women everywhere around safe, effective and enjoyable exercise for pregnancy and the postnatal period. So that's really become my passion. I've been in the industry for over 12 years now. Half of that I've spent specialising in that area, but otherwise, as far as balance, fitness and nutrition goes, I'm all about my 4 key elements covering movement, mindset, nutrition and sleep. So how trainers and myself and my clients can look at health and wellbeing in a more holistic way to optimise, mental and physical wellbeing for long-term sustainable results, as opposed to, short-term unsustainable quick fixes.
Yeah, and it seems to be something that's pretty common, I guess, especially with pregnancies, is just understanding where to go. A lot of people want to keep moving through their pregnancy, but not 100% sure what they can and can't do. And I think sometimes I'll probably get a bit overprotective as the husband as well. I've definitely done that a bit too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's just so much misinformation and misconception out there from, mainly from non-reputable resources. So, being pregnant, there's a time of so much is at play. There's hormonal changes, weight gain, postural changes, relationship, life, like going on maternity leave, taking on the role as a mum as opposed to the role of whatever they may be playing in their work life, and then financial things to consider. There's so much. And so pregnant as well as postnatal women, whether they're new mums in particular, they're vulnerable. So where do they turn to for the right safe information? Is it what their GP says? Is it what they see their favourite mum influencer doing on Instagram? Is it their personal trainer at the gym who isn't necessarily qualified in exercise for pregnancy and postpartum, but has carried a pregnancy herself? So they take that experience and may believe they're some sort of expert in that area. And there's just so much, like I said, misinformation. And it's also, so I've got both. I've got an ebook that's exercise and nutrition for pregnancy, and then returning to exercise for pregnancy and postpartum. For postpartum, as well as my course, which is functional fitness for pregnancy and postpartum for fitness professionals working with women. Now, these all came to life because when I embarked on my preconception journey 6 years ago, I'm a mum of three. I have a 5.5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a soon-to-be 7-month-old. So life's pretty hectic.
You got a lot going on, yeah.
Yeah, in terms of trying to run this business in a part-time capacity. When I first embarked on that whole preconception and pregnancy journey, despite knowing and being trained in all the right things to help equip me on that unique journey, every coach needs a coach. You need mentors. Every doctor needs a doctor. You sort of I was like my own guinea pig, and whenever I was looking for information to help me feel more confident in my journey, because I wanted to nurture this baby, I didn't want to do anything to jeopardize the pregnancy. Everywhere I turned to, but how could I keep moving in a way that I enjoyed? Because we know that if we're going to exercise, if we don't enjoy the way we move, how likely are we to actually follow through with that exercise program and then be successful in our health, fitness, weight loss goals, whatever it is? Everywhere I turned, it was like I said, unreputable sources. It was outdated, so it was sit on a fit ball and lift 2 kilo weights. And yes, that absolutely has its place, and I talk through that in my ebooks and in my course for trainers. But it wasn't empowering me to move in a way that I enjoyed, which was with high intensity, higher impact. From an athletic and competitive background, so running, athletics, netball, CrossFit, those style modalities of training. So that's where I put my knowledge to the test and created these more up to date, sort of one of a kind resources, so that women who do enjoy training in that way, are empowered and have more confidence and clarity around how they can actually do that during this time.
Yeah, it almost seems like there's so much going on between the information, like you were saying. There's your influencers, there's doctors, there's other people that you follow. It's almost too much to comprehend. So I guess a lot of people would almost start before they even stop because it's too much. I mean, I even get it myself sometimes. It's like, what plan do I follow? So
100%. That's the thing. And depending on a woman's preconception journey, have they had multiple miscarriages? Is it IVF? Have they been trying to conceive for a long time, or was it a spontaneous conception? So, for me as well, I wanted that confidence of I've got this baby now. I don't want to do anything to jeopardize it. So many women, they don't know where to look, or the information isn't empowering them to move in a way that they, can continue to enjoy. But that's all relative to pregnancy, of course. I pride myself on that my course and my ebooks, there's conservative and then there's extreme, and I like to meet that in the middle, like being smart about it. But then a lot of women just stop altogether because they're so, well, what do I do? And just sort of, like I say, stop, give up.
Yeah, because it's almost, which one do you pick? And then you start on one and then maybe a little bit of another, and it can get, quite confusing, I bet, for sure.
And we all know the benefits of physical activity. You yourself on this amazing weight loss fitness journey that you've been on. Kudos to you. That's incredible. Thanks. We all know just how amazing physical activity is for us, our mental well-being, promotes, healthy maintenance of body weight. And for pregnancy, it's going to promote, healthy progression of that pregnancy. It's going to improve, for labour preparation, and really in particular for that postnatal recovery. as well as for their like the biggest thing is for their mental well-being. So that emotional interaction and support that comes from fitness, in particular group fitness, which is incredible for pregnancy, particularly as women have to dial down their intensity. It can be hard to stay motivated to keep training, which is why group environments, whether it's small or larger group, is fantastic. So that's really good. But then I like to use the whole analogy that, having an experience in something doesn't make somebody an expert. So here I am with you today doing a podcast. I've done a couple before, but that doesn't make me an expert in then going, lecturing a whole heap of people in how to run podcasts, or women who've gone, so fitness trainers who have a pregnancy, they're experts in prescribing exercise, they've experienced a pregnancy, and that's their own unique experience, and we cannot take that away from them. But unless they've done ongoing professional development in actually how to work with women through pregnancy and postpartum, they're not experts in that, but they do have that experience, the same as if we went skydiving and I said, hey, Aaron, like, I've done it before, come, let's go to tandem, I'll tell you what to do. I've had an amazing experience, but I'm definitely not an expert in that area.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, it's one thing to be an expert in that department, another to be able to bring that into pregnancy workouts, because you've got so many aspects of it, and everyone's different as well on top of that as well, right? I mean, just working out what works for one person won't work for another. Then you've got someone that's pregnant with all different types of experiences. It could be their first baby, it could be second or third, and they could have lost some. So there's just so many more factors to weigh in, right? I would imagine that would weigh on people's mindset as well. So, I mean, the fact that you're catering for that as well is just, you kind of got people in a good place to start with when they kind of sign in or check in with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And because it is quite a controversial and a confusing topic, and like I say, there's some women who run throughout their entire pregnancies. And again, like there's recommendations and things that I would follow around that. And it all sort of comes down to like the risk versus the reward. So if somebody loves strength training, and they're up to 30 plus weeks pregnant and they're lifting, similar percentage weights as what they would be in their pre-pregnant state, like wide stance, all that kind of thing. It's, well, what's the reward of doing that, or being able to, do push-ups on your toes, in your third trimester, because you have to think about the biomechanics and how the physiological changes, how the structure and the function of the core change to accommodate the growing baby, and the load on the pelvic floor, all of those things. So, okay, someone wanted to lift, say, 100 kilos deadlifting in their third trimester, what's the reward of that? And it's probably going to be ego, like, hey, I'm 35 weeks pregnant and I can still lift X amount of weight. And what's the risk of that? Okay, well, we think how much, we call it intra-abdominal pressure. There's so much pressure through their abdominals, it's got to go somewhere. It has that doming effect. It works as a cylinder. So the risk outweighs the reward. So women sort of have to think about, a lot of the time it's about reshaping our egos and shifting the way we think, particularly for those really fit individuals, or those who have that athletic
and I suppose if they come into the pregnancy, they don't really want to be going backwards at the end of the pregnancy. They want to maintain it a little enough so once they've had the bub, they can kind of pick back up again and almost take off where they left off, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It can be a huge adjustment, like I say, that ego thing, like pulling back, and it's a great piece of advice, but it's almost the worst at the same time, is, that whole listen to your body. And so I see that and hear it all the time. I'm listening to my body, it's okay. And yes, we absolutely want to be in tune with what our body's telling us and how we're feeling. But if you're pregnant, like for all of my 3 pregnancies, I was lucky enough to have, apart from the typical fatigue and a little bit of nausea here and there, really healthy, well pregnancies. And with the training mentality that I had, if I didn't have the skill set and the knowledge that I do, and I listened to my body and I continued to train the way I did, I would have, particularly in the first trimester, the biggest risk factor there is a miscarriage. So the intensity of the workouts are really important in those first 12 weeks in terms of maintaining your core body temperature and not overheating. So things like, adjusting intensity is really huge. So for women out there who are feeling great and they're listening to their body and they continue to exercise to their pre-pregnant state, it can actually, be detrimental to their journey. So yeah, absolutely. Shifting the thinking, you're going to gain weight. I like to look at pregnancy as a forced off season or a bit of a taper.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
from your like running background, you're
yeah,
probably all over that, but that's how I
yeah,
sort of like to talk with my clients.
yeah. And then I suppose at the other end of the scale, you would have women that are coming in to get some confidence because and especially if people are having their first child and that after, becoming a mum, you kind of lose a bit of an identity there as well. So no doubt you have people coming in at the other end of the scale that are just wanting to build something back up for themselves and learning how to do that as well, right?
Yeah, 100%. And my like key piece of advice is that it's never too late to start moving. So whether a woman is, 6 weeks, 16 weeks, 26 weeks into her pregnancy, and regardless of her pre-pregnancy fitness levels and activity, like it's never too late to start moving more. It's never too late to start eating well, because sound nutrition is really key for fostering a healthy pregnancy, healthy mum as well. So regardless of if you're sort of, an elite fitness enthusiast versus, you want to know that you need to build some strength to help improve your labour prep and postnatal recovery as well as boost your mental well-being. You've just got to start somewhere, and sometimes that can be the hardest part.
Oh, totally. Yeah. There's that whole daunting, looking at the wall and tackling the wall straight away where it's not so much about that. It's just those small steps to sort of get there. Then it's more of the journey and the process and the sort of tackling the wall all at once, I guess.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. And I like what you are about as well with the healthy mind, healthy habits and stuff like that, and the importance of being healthy as well as, sort of partnering with that healthy mindset and having that confidence, I guess, and that's going to give you more confidence as a parent, first time you've done it or the third time you've done it and you've got a lot on your plate, having that energy to, you've started a business and raised a family of three. And I no doubt that, having a healthy mindset and habits are all part of, making that happen as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the biggest thing for that is that level of self-awareness. So like I said, with all my programs, all of my content, all the clients and things that I coach, it's all like it all comes back to those four key elements that I coin my balance cycle. And I might talk through that quickly
Yeah,
now.
sure.
So
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
the movement, mindset, nutrition, and sleep. So movement's the way we move our body, our exercise, our training, whatever we call it. And nutrition is the food that we're eating, the beverages we're consuming, micronutrients. Sleep is obviously quality and quantity of, and then obviously I learned movement, mindset, nutrition, and sleep. So mindset is like the mood, our inner dialogue, the kind of mindset that we're operating from, like our mental state. So I like to get people to consider, like as soon as I believe that balance exists, and I know a lot of people will disagree with me on that, but that's my opinion. Yes, absolutely, balance exists, but we spend more time out of balance than we do in balance. It's in this constant state of flux. We need to, constantly transfer energy to different areas of our life to try and maintain that, and what it means to me is different to what it means to you. And a lot of the time we don't know when we're, in that nice equilibrium and that balanced feeling, but you're going to know when you're not. And for me, it's, tightness in my chest, not sleeping very well, becoming a bit of a dragon lady, to my husband, not being the best mum that I can be to my kids. And so it's about taking a step back and going, okay, what of these elements is rating poorly and starting to drag the others down the scale? So at the
Okay.
moment, like if you don't sleep well, you wake up feeling groggy, lethargic, you don't have the energy to exercise. You're reaching for caffeine, maybe going home and having a few beers or wines that night, and all of that's going to, fast food or more convenient type, less nutrient dense foods. It all impacts your quality of sleep, and the cycle can kind of continue. So it's about recognizing what of those four key elements need to. What can you do immediately today to try and improve that? And it might be, setting an alarm clock to go to bed, because if you've got small kids at home, you can't improve the quality and the quantity of your sleep. You can't really
Yeah.
control that, but you can control, okay, well, I'm going to go to bed at this time, or limit scrolling and that kind of thing.
Yeah. It's almost sort of cutting off the chain reaction before it gains momentum kind of thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
And sometimes, we just don't, we let it spiral too much out of control until something big happens and we go, oh, we really should have acted sooner or listened to those little niggles. It's not an acute thing, it's that chronic long term, I suppose, ripple effect that's going to
Yeah.
impact all the others.
It's almost like, like the balance, it's almost like a conscious effort to keep it in balance, like you don't know when it's out, but when you kind of, you're either recognizing triggers that send you spiraling out of control, or you're kind of going along okay. It's almost that conscious effort to go, okay, let's maintain this a little bit and do what
Absolutely.
we can, put some things in
Yeah.
place. That's really cool. So other stuff I wanted to chat about was you do online workshops as well as in your gym. How do you go with that sort of side of it compared? So you get people coming in and doing the work. How do you go with your online stuff?
Yeah, so um, I suppose we'll backtrack a little bit. So I've been in the industry for 12 years. When I finished at uni, I was working at one of the FIFO gyms locally here in Karratha
Yeah,
as the health and lifestyle coordinator, and then ended up moving into local government work and then into the mining industry and health and safety, with my business always in the background and with the aim of it to always be a full-time gig.
yeah,
And then I was met at a bit of a fork in the road when I was on maternity leave with my first child back in 2017 around, okay, here's an option for a redeployment or a redundancy. And it was the push that I needed to go, yep, I need to go and do my own thing. And I haven't looked back since. So started with doing my small group face-to-face sessions specializing in women, and then so it was doing that for probably 4 years, and then we went through two more babies. So I was like, how can I maximize my reach and try and reach more people and improve their healthy habits for that healthy mind. And
yeah,
that's where sort of the online programs came into play, because once COVID hit, it's almost 2 years now, and then entering pregnancy and motherhood again, building my online platforms was really important. So I do have 6-week Strive programs, again, striving for balance, covering the 4 key elements. But my baby's now probably my exercise and nutrition for pregnancy ebook, and then the returning to exercise nutrition for postnatal recovery for mums out there. And that's, like I was saying before, reach people in New Zealand and America and Europe, which is amazing. That can be done anywhere, anytime. But then this year, when I was 37 weeks pregnant, I ran my very first functional fitness for pregnancy and postpartum course. So this is for fitness professionals working with women. And since then I've trained over 60 trainers from Australia and now Asia in that. So that's incredible because, postpartum, we think of postpartum as women with little babies.
yeah,
But once a woman has carried a pregnancy, once she's birthed a child, they are postnatal forever, regardless of whether their baby is 6 weeks, 6 months, 16, 26 years old. And often, if you don't have a 0 to 24-month-old child, often those other mums are forgotten, but they're still at risk of pelvic floor dysfunction, abdominal weakness and all of that kind of thing. So it's about, keeping in mind our mums forever, because all mums matter regardless of the stage of their postnatal journey they are at.
yeah. And I like the way with the functional thing because I would imagine, and no one ever picks up their kids or mops the floors or does any of those things, like you do in a gym, standing there doing isolated, weight workouts and stuff like that. I mean, it's all functional sort of stuff, right? And it's not ideal for
Yeah.
your posture either.
No, like the physical demands of motherhood are, you, I suppose when mums enter that whether it's the first or the third time, um, we think of exercise as being this structured activity of, I'm going to break a sweat, or I'm going to do this class or go for a walk. But mums underestimate the amount of physical activity they're actually doing on a daily basis: the rocking, the carrying, the feeding. Particularly mums of subsequent pregnancies with multiples. It is physically demanding, but it becomes this constant juggle of, um, when, if they have the time to exercise, they might not have the energy because they've been up all night with the baby, or they've got to get the kids to after school activity, or when they've got the energy, they don't have the time. So it's this constant, battle. And then if the baby's asleep, okay, it's, do I clean? Do I do some exercise? Do I catch up on some life admin? Do I scroll social media for the next 45 to 60 minutes? Or do I
Yeah.
waste all of that time trying to decide what it is I'm going to do?
Yeah. A bit of everything and just, end up losing that
Yeah.
chance. Yeah. It's a tough one. I mean, it's a thankless job. Parenting, especially motherhood, there is just so much going on. And, you have those brief windows to do exercise and it's okay. How do they learn, how do you put everything aside to take that time for yourself? And then I guess with your training and your classes is getting it in short class or just getting everything they need into something where it's easy to get done.
Absolutely. And then I think it comes back to that whole changing the mindset as well. So if someone's
Yeah.
trained, 5 days a week, 60 minutes. It comes down to quality over quantity. So, that's when home programs are amazing for mums. If it's, a 15 to 20-minute workout that you can do at home as opposed to loading the kids in the car and getting them to the gym, which is also great because then you're guaranteed to have an uninterrupted workout. And I do that, when I need to as well. I've got an amazing setup at home, but sometimes I just need to limit that input from the kids. But I suppose a lot of women can then, and like we spoke about with the pregnancy side of things, that on the end of the spectrum where they're wanting to move more but unsure where to start and how to do it, or those who are further through their fitness journey, once baby's here, often comes along with that, oh cool, baby's here now, like got to get back, got to drop the baby weight or get back to that pre-baby body. And I really am so passionate about changing the dialogue around that, because once a woman has, carried in a pregnancy and birthed a baby, she's never going to be the same again. She's changed forever, physically, mentally, spiritually. Not probably for the better, but she's never going to be the same again. That is not to say that she cannot, find her strength, her fitness, hit personal bests, love her body again. It's about, it's a journey. So working through that with clients and women, sort of helping them along with that, because too much too soon is a no-go. But we don't want to be talking about, dropping the baby weight and that pre-baby body, and particularly if breastfeeding is a goal of a women's, that acute postnatal period isn't the time to be dieting or restricting calories. Successful lactation is the goal.
Yeah, and how does it go with mums? And it's easy to do, especially with your first, is you just put everything aside for them. I mean, how do you go with teaching and helping change that mindset that it's okay to take that time for yourself and to put you put yourself first again after, just putting your whole life aside to raise the bub? I mean, it's so easy to do with newborns and firstborns and that as well, but how do you go with sort of helping mums find that without, a lot of people feel guilty if they take an hour for themselves to go for a walk or to meditate or anything like that? Like, do you help sort of train in for them to sort of get that back as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So like you said before, there's that loss of identity, as women transition into motherhood. And having gone through 3 postpartum journeys myself, I remember after the first one, I was like, oh, if I can, birth baby, I can do anything. My mental strength, my mental fitness was like incredible. Then after my second baby, I was broken. Everything was so hard. Where do I start? And then even third time around now, I suppose you just, it's all about adjusting our expectations. And like for me personally, it's about managing ambition, expectations with reality. And that's what I see with so many clients as well. So that loss of identity, their body has changed. Like postnatal depression is a risk factor, not just for mums, but for dads also. Perceived pressure to get back to a certain size, whether it's real or, like I said, self-imposed, perceived, and then that comparison to others. So it's all just around, doing a lot of work face-to-face, more predominantly online currently. As I juggle mum of 3 life, is around shifting thinking, thinking about the mindset we're operating in, and I suppose, finding the time. So that comes down to that quality over quantity. So what is realistic? Can I do something at home for 15 minutes with the time and energy I have available, as opposed to trying to get to the gym, saying no to things. And I suppose, like, level of self-care, we always think self-care is getting your hair or your nails done as a female, or a massage or something, but it's the little things like, drinking enough water, getting enough sleep, having a cup of coffee in peace. So regular healthy meals, adequate sleep, which can be really hard as a mum. So I think if you can have a really great support network around you, that's the biggest thing is, can people do meal trains? Because cooking and cleaning are probably the best way that people can help out. But you just got to prioritise it, which can be so hard amongst all of the other things. So planning your week as you would if you're at work and you had meetings scheduled at the start of each week, look ahead to what you've got, what the kids have on, what your partner has on, and where and when and what does your exercise look like for the week. And then if you have to adjust it, which because mum life happens, you're probably going to have to. But if it's written down, you're more likely to sort of commit to it, or, can you find a friend to help keep yourself accountable? But again, just finding a way to move in a way that you enjoy, as opposed to sort of looking at exercise as punishment, I suppose.
I think, finding something you enjoy is just such a key one, because you're not going to stick to it if you're not enjoying it. And it's just so important because it's going to keep you happy. It's going to keep those, more likely to be inspired to go on with it. Yeah, it's such a good one, that one.
Yeah, 100%. What can you outsource? Can you get a cleaner? Can you do click and collect? But I think it's just taking that consistent and frequent action. We know that we need that to build habits. So yeah, I suppose consistency is key. It doesn't have to be perfect, and it is not going to be perfect.
Yeah.
So I think it's just adjusting those expectations of what it looked like pre-kids versus what it looks like now, and just taking those small wins.
Yeah, and I find, like you said, planning a little bit, penciling stuff in. Not cementing anything in, but I'm a person, I like routine, and I like sort of knowing what's coming next and when I can schedule in to go, running or hitting the trails and stuff like that. So I definitely feel a little bit more relaxed if there's sort of a bit of a rough plan around, when Renee's photography, so a lot of her stuff's at night in the evening time, and that's sort of golden hour for the photographer. So it's that bit of communications, planning the week a little bit and saying, yeah, look, we can sort of do this here and we can do this there. Like I said, it does take tweaking and a little bit of adjusting as things change, but at least knowing that there's a little bit to work with is pretty good, and
Yeah.
I love it as well.
Because then even if it helps you, and I like to keep track of what you have done for the week. If it's just in
Yeah,
your diary, if you were going to do a 5K run or a walk, and you tick that off because you've done it. Because then if it gets to Thursday and you think, oh, I'm really tired, like I'm going to have that rest day, you can look back and go, you know what, like, yep, I need.
you've had a good week.
My
Yeah,
training week says that I probably should have a rest or taper back or whatever. But if you look back and go, well, I haven't actually done anything for 3 days, so I actually need to get off the couch and go move my butt. That it's because who can remember what they did? Well, I know that I can't remember what I did, like
yeah.
yesterday or on the weekend or whatever. So just a simple tick and cross as to whether you got it done, so that you don't take sort of, because the longer you have off, the harder it is to get back into it, as well, as I'm sure
Yeah,
you'd know.
totally. Yeah, and just having it somewhere where you can see it, just maybe on the fridge or something where you can just go, okay, I haven't done anything for a day or so. Let's make
Yeah,
today the day that we make it happen. Get someone to look after the kids or drop them off with someone else. It's yeah, it's definitely a good one. I'm finding
yeah.
it at the moment actually because I'm at home with one, and without the second one there, that it's really, you got to do a lot of work to keep them occupied. It's like, man, one's tricky, like with one kid. So
Yeah, I know. And I mean, there's technology, right? But I'm so, no, I'm going to try and do this so that they're not
yeah,
in front of technology. And but then I suppose, and yet myself as well, working from home, and I husband who's on shift work and stuff. Yeah, that there's no, I find it really hard at the moment. And it's just a phase, a season that I'm going through, as I've got sort of still a, relatively young baby at home. Yeah, like separating work from parenthood.
yeah.
Takes me sort of either 2 weeks to get back to emails or a day to actually, compose one. And yeah, so just again, adjusting those expectations with reality.
Totally. And working at home as well. I mean, it's right there. So it's like you kind of half trying to work, but half sort of, run the house and keep the kids good and happy as well. It's can be a tricky one.
100%.
Yeah. We spoke briefly earlier about, sort of going back to where it sort of started for you. You were in your personal training sort of game already, and that was just something because you've always been a quite fit and active person. Was that kind of the path that you were on? And then once you became a mum, you sort of decided that you were going to sort of get into that pregnancy side as well through your
Yeah.
experiences?
Yeah. So when I'm having a moment and I'm, love my children and so grateful for it, but when I'm having a moment and I'm like, oh, bloody kids, it's, my husband always says, if it wasn't for them, you wouldn't be, where I am today, which was amazing.
Yeah,
I was always going to be, an Olympic athlete or work with Olympic athletes. And I think mums are in that class of their own in terms of, they are, they're Olympic athletes. Life in the hood is tough. So once, like I said, once I entered that stage in my life, again, I always knew this stuff and I've trained hundreds of women through their pregnancy, postpartum, and even grandparenthood journeys. So through single, twin, and quad pregnancies as well. But it's once you go through it yourself, there's all these aha moments. Oh, I get it now. Like this
yeah,
is
yeah,
why we need to do things a certain way. So yeah, it was amazing for me to do that. And then just because it then became, this is what I have to do. This is my mission in life. I need to, provide that confidence and clarity and educate and empower women everywhere. And I suppose myself living, I've always lived in regional WA as well. There can be barriers to, business success in terms of networking and opportunity. Like sometimes there's amazing opportunities, but it can be a barrier. So I sort of just wanting to, there we go.
Gecko.
The
No,
gecko.
pet gecko resident in
Good
the
old
background.
Wilbur.
Yeah.
Like showing that regardless of where you're with, whether it's urban, regional, or remotely, like you can achieve great things. So that misinformation out there, like there's so many mums in the world, and like I said before, the forgotten mums in terms of their babies aren't babies anymore, because once a woman goes through menopause, they're at risk factors. They're at risk again for pelvic floor dysfunction. We can talk a little bit about that if you want to. But yeah, sure. I suppose the birth of my babies was the birth of, making sure that this is my mission. I still want to make sure that women, because that's what I'm sort of specialising in, is everywhere, around that. How can we make long-term healthy habits for mental and physical well-being? But the big part of that is around safe, effective, enjoyable exercise for pregnancy and postpartum.
No, it's awesome. And, you got to kind of do what you love. I think we talked about before with the types of exercise that you enjoy doing. If your heart's not in it, then it's going to be very hard to sort of make that successful and to be effective, because, you're not doing you're not fulfilling your purpose or following your path. And I mean, kudos to that too, to go from full-time work, becoming a mother, and then following that path, that, you found that purpose and that drive to walk away from, a steady full-time job and turning it into a full-time job, creating your own business, everything. I mean, that's just such an impressive thing to do, let alone becoming a mother at the same time. I mean, that's just, it's pretty epic.
Yeah, no, and like I said, it has been a journey, and I suppose that's the hardest thing from a business sense is, everything in life, not comparing yourself to others. So I can't compare myself to someone in the industry who's got kids, who are, empty nest. Maybe they're empty nesters now, or that kind of thing, or just what people are doing who don't have children, because like your priorities change. Like they're your number one priority, and what you have, what your full-time job is. So it's just, staying in your own lane, staying true to what it is you want to do. And I suppose it's just head down, bum up. And like with health and fitness goals, is you just have to be prepared to and content to progress with small steps.
Yeah,
because that you'll get there eventually if you keep that fire burning.
Yeah, and a step in the right direction is enough. Whether
Absolutely.
it's you're not think you're doing enough if you're getting up and doing more today than what you did yesterday. I mean, that's all okay. That's fine, because you've got so much else going on as well, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. We kind of spoke. You were talking about the pelvic floor stuff for ladies later on in life, going through menopause and stuff like that. So maybe you like sort of unpack that a little bit for me.
Yeah, okay. And again, I was saying to you off air earlier, is like what we're talking about today. It could be a whole season of podcast in one. And again, hopefully I haven't been speaking too fast, and I'm passionate about things.
No, it's good. I mean,
anyway, and
I think the best thing, and if you're happy, later on, it's great to have people like yourself to rely on, getting through stuff. I mean, even this is like sort of just about, your entry level. We're talking on a broad scale of everything and sort of hearing your story and what you're about. And then obviously later on, I'd love to get you back on to even tackle more in depth, go down certain alleyways and paths of other topics and stuff like that. But I mean, I'm happy to share, at the end of the episode, all your links and people, where people can access your information, join you online, all that sort of stuff too. But anything you think is relevant that you want to talk about right now, I'm sort of happy to get on the show for sure.
Well, we'll talk about pelvic floor because Renee's about to have a little babe.
That's right, yeah.
And, everyone's got a pelvic floor, men and women. It's just as far as the anatomy looks a little bit different. But, so we know that 1 in 3 women who have had a baby will experience stress incontinence. So, when they laugh, cough, sneeze, jump, leak a little bit of urine. About 1 in 10 women will have some form of bowel incontinence, whether that's fecal or flatulence. And about 50% of women who have had a baby at some point in their life will develop some degree of prolapse, which is the downward displacement of internal organs into or out of the vagina. So, lots of uncomfortable words that I'm fine saying it, but often it's other people. So I'm all about, let's keep that, start the conversation, let's keep it going, and normalise this kind of dialogue, because so many women have babies, and, if you think about those stats, that's, I always go, have you got a wife or a sister or a friend or a mum who have had children? And or, even in your, particularly for trainers who are working with women, like their demographics, who's going to be impacted by that. So many women have a baby and think, oh, this is just normal because I've had a baby and I'm a mum now, so this is what I have to live with. So it's so important to actually understand what this is and that there's help out there available. There's different risk factors that can contribute to each of these things. And I suppose that's why it's so important that women are exercising in the appropriate way during their pregnancy and then in their return to exercise journey, because we don't just have the baby and everything snaps back and the hormones disappear and all of that kind of thing. And so I think it's about getting other people comfortable with this talk as well. So I don't know if you watch SAS Australia or not, but in this season of it, there was an example of Yana Pittman, who I think is a mum of 4 now, and she was 6 months postpartum, and she went on a run, and it was she was really embarrassed because she'd peed herself while she was running, and the trainer was sort of like, "Yep, I don't want to know about it." And I believe he's a father himself, and that was just an amazing opportunity for him to sort of make her feel empowered and talk about it. But instead, she felt embarrassed, and so many women. It's so important that we help mums feel empowered when it comes to exercise rather than embarrassed about what it is they're dealing with. So we could talk about that.
No, I totally get it. And I've been very lucky that, I've been together with Renee for a long time, and it's never been, she's helped me sort of understand and talk about these things. And no doubt, the ladies in your groups, if they're doing workouts and stuff like that, they can talk about it openly. And the more you talk about it, the more you realise that you're not alone and that it's okay. But yeah, I've always been included, and we've been very open and stuff. I've been there for both of my kids' births, and hopefully the third one next in 2 weeks' time. But it's being comfortable and having those open conversations and speaking about it as husband and wife or partners, even to a certain degree with the kids, so they know what's happening. And I've got 2 girls, so you want them to grow up, and I feel like it is changing because not talking about it and putting it away is a little bit of an old-fashioned style of going about it, where it's great to sort of see that it is becoming more in the limelight and there's so many ways that women can struggle, and that's just another avenue that I don't think they need to is to help them to get back to normal, or not back to normal, but at least feel like they're getting back to normal.
Absolutely, because if they are experiencing this, then we spoke a lot about mental wellbeing. Okay, so they're already their mental state may be impaired due to lack of sleep or not eating well, or because their body looks a certain way, or they can't do the things that they were doing pre-pregnancy. And then now they may lack confidence in their body and its ability, or like impacts of relationships, like the mental health impacts of any of those, pelvic floor dysfunction are really huge. So it's so important, for the mums out there who are listening and wanting to return to exercise, linking in with a fitness professional or trainer who is actually qualified in exercise for pregnancy and postpartum. And I'm building a resource on my website for all of the trainers across Australia and Asia who have completed my course, which is accredited by both Fitness Australia and the American Council on Exercise, as well as working with a women's health physio. So, when you've had a baby in WA, you get this purple book, and in it, it's all about, okay, baby's got their 6-week check and their 6-week IMS, and mum's got her 6-week check with the doctor, and then it's all about baby. And there's this misconception out there that once women have had their 6-week check with their GP, it's, yep, cool, I've got the green light, I can go and return to exercise. And that's not the case. It's not enough, and more needs to be done in that space in terms of what is an appropriate return to exercise. Yes, absolutely, see OB or GP, however you're going, public or private or whatever it is. But that checkup's mainly going to be about mental health. It's how are you doing? What are your support systems? How are you coping? And then family planning. Are you having more babies? And a lot of the time women are like, hang on, doc, like I've just had a baby. Let's not even go there. It's not about, they're not the eyes on the inside, which is what the women's health physios are. And in Karaka, we're really lucky. We've got some great resources here. I'm not sure what's, but again, linking in with the correct health and fitness professionals to help, coming back from babies, it's a rehabilitation program. You need to build the base, add in foundational, basic movement patterns, and then do the fun and fancy stuff, not just hey, I'm 6 weeks, I feel good, I'm going to go and
let's just
do
get back
this.
into it.
Yeah.
And then that's even just for like a standard birthing, like a natural birthing, let alone like C-sections and operations
Yeah.
and all those sorts of things, because that can put it back even further.
Yeah.
Um,
And I mean, women can return to the key word here is appropriate exercise really soon after delivery.
yeah,
And again, we think about exercises. I'm breaking a sweat, I'm doing structured activities. Appropriate movement, really soon after birth is breathing, activation of your transverse abdominis, really short, just engaging that pelvic floor. Is there any that mind muscle connection there? And depending on the delivery and any underlying risk factors, gentle walking, short duration, easy terrain. So maybe up the street and back. Not okay. Well, normally I do 6Ks, but I'm 2 weeks post. I'm going to go for a 3K walk. Like that. That can even be too much. So
yeah,
we can start appropriate movement soon after. But then it's really going to depend on how the woman's birthing journey and risk factors and all of that kind of thing.
yeah. We're talking with mum's understanding and having that healthy mindset and becoming more comfortable talking about everything that can be associated with. I mean, how do you go with the guys and the husbands? I mean, is there work that the girls can take home and a spreadsheet they go, a leaflet they can give to the husband and say, okay, these are things that you can talk about it in your groups, with the girls, but how do they go sort of bringing it home with the guys? Does that generally get
Yeah,
received pretty well?
absolutely. And you said before how you've been through Renee on her journeys and things, which is amazing. And yeah, at the end of the day, if you have an unsupportive partner, it's going to be really difficult. And my husband was like, I would never know half of this stuff if it wasn't for you. And
Yeah,
and then with my third postpartum recovery, I've got some risk factors there for pelvic floor dysfunction and things. So this was really important for me to rehab out of this pregnancy, the right way, so I can do the things that I love to do. But he went on a mountain bike trip with a mate 4 weeks before baby was due and ended up getting helicoptered out of was he dwelling up and ended up in hospital and was very lucky. But it was okay, well, he's injured now, but I've also
yeah,
had this injury. Essentially, you can't
yeah,
see mine. It's like mental health, you can't see it, so how can we work through it? And he was like, I was so lucky he was aware of all the things and whatnot. But for just mums who are coming as clients, it's about just, I suppose, having that conversation with them, and I get them to go home and do some pelvic floor exercises with their partner, and like thinking, because the coaching cue is a little bit different, but like nuts to guts for the guys
yeah,
because everyone's got a pelvic floor. So
yeah.
um, yeah, I think it's just about them being comfortable having the conversation, and then hopefully their partners are the kind that are receptive to it and go, yeah, get picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah, it's important. I mean, I even found through birth, being there for the birth, you're pretty, you don't really know what to do first time round, but just being there is enough, and just being there and being supportive is more than enough. I mean, I know as guys, we're practical guys and we like to fix things. It's like, okay, put something in front of me and tell me to fix it.
Yeah,
I can do that, but how do I help my wife, get through this and to deliver a baby and keep her sane, especially when some of the things you try and think that you're doing can have the opposite effect as well. They can
100,
be
and that's
quite
why
irritable.
it's insane. Yeah, I think I'd almost rather be the woman in the room than the man or the partner in the room going through it,
Yeah.
because I don't know, don't think I'd know what to do.
Yeah. And we don't. I mean, sometimes it's just being there is enough, but
Yeah,
sometimes, stroking their back for
yeah,
2 hours might start getting on their nerves a little bit or something like that. But yeah.
yeah, yeah.
No, it's a hard one to peg when it's your first time through both ways. But like I say, the fact that you're there, and I say it to friends that are being dads for the first times, just being there is enough, and doing
Yeah,
what you can. It's definitely enough.
100%. Yeah, I think just in those, entering motherhood first, second, third time, I think you just need to focus on, like removing that pressure and having people around you to assist in removing that, shifting that mindset from, like weight loss or aesthetics to actually it's about feeling good, like with the primary goal to be mental health over weight loss.
Yeah,
And then you're like fueling your body for that recovery or, and for lactation, as opposed to restricting your hydration,
yeah,
and rest, treating it as a rehab program and just not rushing. Like I say, everyone's journey is going to be different depending on their birth story, and that's why if you're a woman listening and you've had a trainer or a group fitness instructor before, have they actually understood your birth story? And so we talk through in my course around, again, get comfortable asking the uncomfortable questions, um, it's so important that there's, I've got another short course around the key questions that need to be asked for mum clients and why. But then understanding, and again, anyone who's had time off from fitness, whether it be due to like injury, illness, travel, maybe lockdowns and things have impacted it. It's hard to start again, and you'd probably know that, like when you embarked on your journey for the first time. But yeah, I think it's just people have to put themselves in that position of, okay, I might not have gone through a pregnancy and had a baby, but like it's like starting again, and it can be really hard to actually do that.
Yeah, and then, you get back into it. You think, okay, I'm just going to jump straight back into it, and I've had so much time off, so let's just hit the ground running. But it kind of got me thinking when you were talking about like people train and they might have trained at certain gyms their whole life and a certain way, and then all of a sudden they become mums where they've got to adjust. What they've done in the past is going to be, like I said, completely different to what they're going to do after that, because you're never going to be the same again. So it's almost being aware enough to go, okay, this is what I did do at this gym, and I did CrossFit to the extreme.
Yeah.
Now I need to look at changing that to suit where I'm at now.
Yeah, and they still can do CrossFit, but it's just, what's a more safe and suitable option? So it's, you can still do this, but like I said, what's more safe and suitable? And standard fitness certifications don't even scratch the surface on this stuff. And it's around, like I've been at gyms so many, and I've been a member and a client before, where it's, unless you're injured, you're running, and to them an injury is, well, unless you've busted your knee or your ankle, you're running. And I look around the demographic and the amount of females who are mums there, and is that, like I said before, is it empowering them to take a more safe and suitable option, or is it embarrassing them and whatever they're dealing with?
Setting up for failure almost a
Yeah,
little bit as well.
exactly. So it's about either appropriate resources or trainers, through my ebooks and things. Okay, well, how can I keep doing F45 or CrossFit, but having that in their back pocket of, okay, well, here's the suitable modifications for that, because so many trainers don't have that modification, or it's not going to be offered, or a woman's going to think, oh, I'll do this instead, when it's not actually a better option, or women are just going to stop going altogether, which is bad for business if you own a business, but bad for the mums and their mental well-being, and their long-term health and fitness goals.
Yeah. I mean, you've been doing it for a while now. I mean, you're saying you've been in the game for over 12 years. We talked about that sort of comparison factor before. How have you found the comparison factor has changed with, social media being so readily available now, and just, that instant comparison in your pocket and that judgment?
Yeah.
How have you found it got worse, and people's mindset has got worse in that time that you've been, sort of in the game?
Yeah, absolutely. And I like there's so many positives to social media, and I've connected with so many amazing individuals and professionals through it, and like yourself.
Yeah.
But then there's so many negatives that come with it, and I suppose it's like having the ability to go, no, this is triggering me, I need to unfollow, as opposed to, because you can just get into that trap of scrolling and, oh, this person's 16 weeks pregnant and I'm 16 weeks pregnant, but I look like I'm 30 weeks pregnant, or they're 10 weeks postpartum and they're doing this, so that I should be able to do that, or they look a certain way. And that's why on my socials you won't actually generally see comparison, some pics. It's just, for me, it's just,
Or development. Development.
It's a feeling. So like you know within yourself, when you feel fit, there's no better feeling, and you don't know that it's gone until you're sick or you're injured or something. But you know how your clothes fit, or how your recovery is going in between exercises and things like that. But I think with like in a world of growing social media is the world of growing influence. So that's why with my trainers, I always try and get them, they're in a position of influence, whether they like it or not. Anyone with a profile is, whether they're online or working out at a gym, but using that position of power to positively influence women. And I suppose just, if you're out there and you're following certain people and they're doing this, that and the other, and it's making you feel shit about where you're at, unfollow, because you don't need that sort of negativity in your life, because the comparison trap, you can sort of spiral downwards pretty quickly.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's easy. It's hard enough to do it fitness-wise anyway, because everyone's different with their path and what they're training for and their training background, let alone adding motherhood to that as well, and ticking boxes and going out for lunch, looking good after a gym session, all that kind of stuff. I mean, you just got to put that out in your mind and keep it to where you are and how you feel about your situation. It's such a good
Stay
one.
in your own lane, keep it real, and make sure you've got a good team around you to help, like give you that confidence and that empowerment as you progress through your motherhood journey again, whether it's you're acutely postnatal or whether you're well and truly into the hood and maybe you're a nana or a granny yourself.
It's rad. I think we've done so well for the episode. I just want to, before we sort of start wrapping things up, just see where you're at with things that you've got coming up and things that you can offer now for people if they want to check you out. What sort of things have you got on the horizon?
At the moment, like I said, I'm trying. Yeah, every day I'm just navigating mum life. It's insane. But for me, there's so much coming up. At the moment, the focus is on the online program. So if you've been listening and you're a mum or you're just wanting an online program to follow, I have my 14-day fitness challenge, which is an amazing place to start. And that's 14 days of at-home, bite-sized, achievable workouts, which I actually created in my own 14 days of self-isolation getting back from America last year, or 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
When the sort of when the
pandemic it was really sort of taking off.
Yeah, so that, like, if you're listening and you don't sort of know where to start, that's a really great affordable like, go for that. That's going to be a big hitter. You've got my 6-week Strive programs, which encompasses my 4 key elements, and you get 6 weeks of nutrition guidance and workouts and access to my online Facebook group for that. And then for the new expecting or mums here, we've got my Happy Healthy Pregnancy ebook. So workouts, nutrition advice, menus and things, with workouts ranging from level 1, 2 and 3, depending on where you're at with your pregnancy or postpartum journey. And they're all over at my shop, which I'm sure we can link to that. And then if you are in the fitness industry or health and fitness industry even, I have my functional fitness for pregnancy and postpartum courses. So they'll be kicking off again in 2022. Dates are still to be confirmed for that. And at the moment, they're all virtual apart from local face-to-face ones. And again, don't have to be a fitness trainer. I've had nurses, sonographers, midwives, but then physiotherapists, trainers, group fitness instructors, basically anyone who's working with women and can influence them in the space of exercise, then that's the course.
That's for people to become instructors as well, yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So there we can go for resources, and then just in the background there's my writing and chatting to wonderful people like you.
Yeah, no, I'm super appreciative, and it's been so much going on. I know you went down south recently because your husband was in the Cape to Cape mountain bike ride, which looked like it was pretty amazing.
Yes.
And obviously a mum of 3 and you're running a business and you've got so much going on. So I'm just so grateful for your time and sitting there with me to just go through some stuff. It was just incredible. So I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for taking your time out of family and mum and business and everything life to have a chat with me. It's super cool. Thank you so much.
And ditto to you, Aaron. I know that like I say, juggling fatherhood and work and soon to be entering family 5 life as well.
Yeah.
So thanks for having me.
Good. If anyone wants to check out anything, the best place as I was on your website. So that's balancefitnessandnutrition.com.au. Is that the best place for people to look at all your sort of
head on over to my website. If you're on the socials, I'm Brooke.Turner _ on Instagram, or on Facebook it's Balance Fitness Nutrition.
Awesome. I can't recommend enough for people to check it out. I've been sort of doing a bit of homework this week and just trying to get myself ready for this, and it looks amazing. And I definitely think we'll be in touch when we sort of get home, because living rural as well, we all sort of do in this sort of spread out huge state we have. It's tricky sometimes without so much family being around and stuff like that too. So it's nice to know that there is support and these networks out for people to help out get through, new parenthood and life in general. Is great.
Absolutely. Good luck to all out there who are embarking on that journey. And you've got this, whether you think you do or you don't. You're doing a great job.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Brooke. Like I just said, I'm just grateful for your time and for the message, and everything you're doing for people is just so amazing. So I'm just really happy to be chatting and sharing this with our listeners as well. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Aaron.
No worries. See you next soon. Hopefully we'll get you back on for to look at some more in-depth diving into other subjects or whatever. Maybe get the fans to get in touch and see what they want.
Yeah, I'd love to. Ask the people.
Yeah, I might put it out there. We'll see how we go. Okay, so. Oh, well, I don't know about you guys, but that was a pretty epic episode, I think. really enjoyed talking to Brooke, and her experience through the years and everything that she does. I just think is such a positive thing for all the mums out there of all levels. I sort of never really knew that there was an importance on looking after yourselves before and after pregnancy and birthing, and for experienced people that are athletes and exercise to change their routines after birth, and then for new mums just to get back out there and get their confidence back. And that was just really a great episode, I think, to raise some awareness for that. So, look, I think the key takeaways from that is just to know that what you are doing is enough, and to cut yourself some slack. I mean, it's really hard to get out of that guilt zone as a parent, and especially with mums, to think that they are being a poor parent for leaving bub with dad to go and get some time for themselves. It's just so important, but to know that when you are getting yourself back on track, that the littlest effort is more than enough. So I just can't stress that one out there enough. And, you know, it's something we're going into too. I'm literally days away from leaving our home to head south and get ready to have our third baby. So we're going to be going into a whole new realm as well. And I know parenting and fatherhood for me has probably put a few of my athletic plans on hold a little bit. And no doubt it has for a lot of people, but I know that what I'm doing is enough for me. I've got the energy to keep up with my kids. I enter into my 40s and I'm trying to look after myself. So I hope all the mums that you are out there doing the same for yourselves, looking after yourselves, getting the support, speaking to people when you need to, and just raising that awareness and the conversation for all of the things that happen to women and the mums out there. But look, I'm going to leave it there. I don't really know what more I can say about that episode, because I just think it was just such an epic one. So please make sure you reach out, speak to Brooke, get in touch with Brooke if you feel like you need to speak to anyone and you're not sure about whatever you want to do. Grab out, and I'll put Brooke's details on all the socials when the episodes release, and all the links. But yeah, until then, look after yourselves, guys. It's been great to have you again. Don't forget to check us out on all the social platforms. It is at the Inner Expeditions Podcast. It's the same on every platform. Can't go wrong. So check it out. It's been great to have you guys on again, and I hope you've enjoyed having me, taking me wherever you are, whether you're riding your bike, going for a walk, or on a nice drive on your travels anywhere. It's been great for you guys to take me along with you, and I appreciate you guys having me on board there with you when you do your daily life things. So I'm going to leave it there. Great to speak again, guys. But yeah, I look forward to talking to you guys again real soon. Bye.